Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 24 of my modded Factorio playthrough. This is another recreation of a video that I lost in the hard drive failure. Enjoy! But while we're waiting for that to fill up, we can take this to the next step. And that next step is alloys. If you see over here, we can do advanced solder smelting, and it's pretty cheap. Now, I changed the recipe of Angel solder because it was just a little weird. To kind of show you why, if you go to Bob's, I guess I have to go in here. To make solder, it requires 4 solder plates and some resin, which makes 8 solder. So 4 solder plates, you can get 11 from a specific ratio of 4 tin to 7 lead, but 4 plus 7 is 11, so basically 1-to-1 ratio there. So 4 plates create 8 solder, so basically you get 2 pieces of solder for 1 plate. And it requires some resin. But if you look at Angel's, I changed this recipe because the original recipe was 12 tin and 12 lead gave you the 240 molten solder, and it's a little cheating, I think, because Bob specifically had that special ratio because that's a certain ratio of solder, and Angels didn't bother with that, so I just changed that to be 9 and 15, which is the same ratio. Also, Angels didn't require any resin, and resin is a major aspect of the game, I think, or at least of Bob's, and it seems a little cheating to just remove the need for resin, or at least an early game need for resin. So I put that back in and also changed this recipe. But thirdly, to make it even more confusing, for some reason Angels only gave you 4 solder for 40 molten solder, which is basically 4 plates instead of the 8. So I doubled it to 8. So I changed 3 aspects of Angel's recipe to make solder because they were just a little off, and I figured, you know, Bob's set it up a certain way, and I love Angels and I love Bob's, and I'd love it if they both worked together. So it seemed a little cheaty to not follow the specific Bob's recipe for this. So I changed that around a bit. But while we're waiting for this to research, we can at least place the machines down and try to figure out how we're going to do things. So let's move these power poles over here. Place some lights. And we can get rid of this. Well, I guess if that's connected, we don't need this anymore. Are those still mining? Yeah, it looks like it. They're mining away. I will clear out these boxes a little bit to keep it going. Let's place some machines down. I don't have to place all of them, but I guess I could. There's really no reason why I couldn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Low on resources. Might as well pick up some more, I guess. Just some iron and copper. Now the placement of these is going to be a little different because I changed the recipe to require some resin. So we're going to need to be able to put resin into these machines as well as the liquid solder. So placement's going to be a little odd, but we have to place them 2 spaces away on this side and use a long-handed inserter. And the reason for that is if this belt was right here, there would be no room for the pipe to bring the solder in. So we have to have it spaced 1 space away like that. And then they will output on this belt here. And this one on the other side, since it doesn't have a pipe running on this side, it doesn't have that same problem. So we can have it be right next door like this. Let's complete the setup. Something like this. I'll put the pipes down first. It's not as necessary to squish these in because this is a wider setup than this, so it's not going to be perfectly squished like this. It's going to be something a little special. So let's put these undergrounds in here. Yes, that's the correct spot for that one. That's a great spot for that one. So you see it's going to be a big cluster of pipes. That thing still going? It's actually pretty close. Pretty close. Where we can fire up the lead. Let's see. So the tin needs to go, or the copper pipes. So many materials I have to keep track of. Go over there. And then these final 2 induction furnaces, what's the best place to put them? I always try to have them symmetrical if possible, and I don't think that's really going to be possible, but let's do that. Why not? Alright, so these need to be long-handed inserters. And then the resin will come up in there. And these are short-handed inserters. And let's get the splitter. And there's that. So the reason why I'm setting up solder, it's not one of the original components that I was thinking I would make. That we have, you know, we have the iron and copper, and then lead and tin and steel, and then bricks and wood and carbon. But we have all these extra belts, and some of them are, I think we have 2 spare belts in this design. So I was originally planning on making the solder on site at where the machines would be constructing the circuits, but it would be more efficient to do it off-site. That would make the whole assembly line cleaner. So I figured, you know, why not manufacture our own solder up here and take advantage of Angels. Alright, that is finally stopped. That looks good. How's the pollution cloud? Kind of terrible. It's really... Oh, it's touching the biters right there. But, the factory must continue. Let's hook up lead and let lead start working. And while it's doing that, I think I will just send it the whole way down. This is going to be... Looks like we're about to run out of belts. Yep, that's going to be the tin. We'll just not hook this up all the way quite yet. And let's set these up for solder. So since these machines create 2 solder from 1 plate, it means we're going to have an output of 2 per second, which is going to require 2 long-handed inserters. And I can't place them up here because you see the power pole doesn't quite reach there. It's 1 short, so I'm going to put them 1 notch lower. Just down here. Alright, there we go. Let's hook up the rest of the power. So one thing that I thought is just interesting with Angels in general is you notice that it's 24, when you're doing alloys anyway, 24 plates go in every 4 seconds. But when you're not doing an alloy, like a standard 1 material furnace, it's 12 ingots go in every 4 seconds. So it actually has twice the output. Let's put these in here. And so we're going to need to bring tin and lead in. And although we use them at different ratios... Are these clogging? Or are they still going? Oh, kind of. Something's clogged anyway. Yeah, it's clogged on byproducts. Yep. You don't normally have to watch it this closely. It's just right now when we're filling up the belts for the first time, it's consuming a lot of product, so we do have to watch it fairly closely in the beginning. But we need tin and lead, and there's really no reason to have 2 separate belts for this. We could put them on 1 belt. It could fairly simply be done by just combining these 2 belts. Although getting it there is going to be a little weird. So let's move this up here and go down there. Then we can bring this over. And space it. And then boom, there we go. There we go, they're loading up on the tin because it's available. But this is kind of like a priority ingot setup, where the ingots first gets consumed by the primary machines, which are going to be the ones making the tin and lead plates, and then any leftover ingots are going to work their way over here to be used in making the solder. And this is a prime example of why you don't want the induction furnaces placed right smack dab next to the blast furnaces. Because whenever you're doing alloys, you mix different ingots together, and that becomes extremely difficult when these machines are very close to each other. So you want to space them out and have them be two distinct steps. As long as they're two distinct steps, you'll be fine. You don't want them like, this is not two distinct steps. This is one step right here. Just like this is one step. Even though there's three different types of machines, it's one distinct step. So as long as you have them be two distinct steps, where they're like separate from each other, then you'll be fine. Just don't keep them too close together. But looks like we're still waiting on that lead to catch up. It's going to probably take a while. Although those ones are getting pretty close to full, so it's not that far away. So this would probably be a good time to try to work on some of that resin. And resin is available from the beginning of the game. It's not unlocked by any technologies, at least with how Bob's has it set up, and it's pretty simple. It just requires one raw wood. Let's place a machine down and try to figure this out. It's up here. One raw wood and one machine is half speed, so one machine can make half of a resin a second. And how many resins do we need total? Well, each one of these machines uses one resin every 4 seconds, so it needs a quarter of a resin. So 6 machines is 1.5 resins per second, which means we need 3 assembly machines. But 3's a weird number, so let's do 4. Probably want to send these belts down here to where they're going to be on the bus. And we might as well bust the resin as well as the solder, because resin is used in the tier 3 circuit boards. Let me see if I can search them. There it is. Yeah, the superior... No, it's not. There we go. That's tier 4. That's really far ahead. It's the electronic circuit boards. You see, because the basic board requires a wood and a resin. So, it's kind of far down, but, you know, we might as well bust it if we can. There's really no reason why not. Let's hook that up, but that's where the solder is going to go down, and here's where the resin's going to be. Alright, how is lead doing? Is it getting pretty close? Yeah, it's getting there. Still got a ways to go. Pollution cloud? Yeah, it's about where it was. Still kind of messing with those biters. But this is going to be the resin. Let's make an underground. And a splitter. Alright, and that would be as good a place as any to make the resin. So let's place it, I guess, right here. Let's make it one space over. Oops. Can't click right. That way, this will be the input of wood. And there are other ways of making resin besides wood. Like you can use it, you can make it with oil, I believe. So to make resin, that's just the reverse recipe. Oh yeah, it's from liquid resin. And that is urea and formaldehyde, melamine, and I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try with those, but there's multiple sources of artificial resin that we could make. So we don't have to perpetually use trees, which is nice because trees are not forever. Eventually they're going to run out and they're not going to regrow or anything. But it's a pretty simple thing. It's one raw wood goes in when resin comes out. but it runs at a speed of half, so we only need one yellow for input and output for each of these. So one yellow for the in, and long-handed, then one yellow for out. And there we go. Let's hook these up, put some lights so we can see. Do we put any lights over here? Doesn't look like it because it's dark. So let's put one right there, right there. Oh, it looks like the LED is finally starting to back up a little bit. That's good. Probably should clear out some of these resources. So our inventory is filling up pretty high. Probably should clear it out. It looks like I've already placed a chest there from a previous playthrough that I didn't do in the reenactment, so that's quick and easy. We'll need those resources eventually, so we don't want to just get rid of them. Keep everything. You never know what you're going to need it for. Speaking of oxygen, looks like we're still good on oxygen. What about the hydrogen, though? Just want to make sure. Oh, it's completely full. So, want to do something about that. Let's make 2 new storage tanks and just stick them right here. And it will balance out and we'll start chugging out more oxygen. Alright, wood. We're going to need to put in probably 8 per second is probably good enough because we're going to need, well, I mean, we really only need about 2 per second. So 8 ought to be plenty. So just put these right here. So let's provide some power to these. Need another pole. Make a couple. And we just need to fill it up with some wood, which I have none of. See if I have it all thrown in the box that's making circuits. There it is. Haha. Okay. Let's place this all in here. Boom. These machines are going to very slowly and faithfully make resin. It may not have output. Well, it should still have a proper output even though it's being split in half. But let's see if this works. Looks like it. Pumping out the solder. Kind of, though. It looks like it's only feeding the 4 machines. So let's cut this off. Yeah, I was thinking this has enough output, but I don't have enough machines. I need 3 of these machines for some solder. But man, look at all that solder output. I mean, technically this is going to have 12 solder per second, which is almost going to max out a yellow belt, so I would expect to see quite a bit. There we go. Let's see those back machines run. And in theory, we're going to need this machine to run slightly, if I recall correctly. If I did my math right. There it goes. I don't always do the math right. Oh, and just like that, solder is filled up. It doesn't take very long. It doesn't take much to make that solder, and it's much faster to do it in this confined, compact little space than do it other ways. How is the lead going? You know, it's kind of going, but kind of filling up again. While that is running, see how we'll hook this up. Something else we can research is some more alloys. And the other alloy we can do is bronze. It gives us our bronze plates. And we can take that a step further and do alloy processing, which basically just unlocks the ability to make pipes. So let's research that. You see that it takes an interesting recipe here of 18 copper and 6 tin. And that is something we can do. Look at that, how quickly it consumes that wood. That it looks like we've almost run out already. I think the pollution cloud has died down enough where we can hook up the tin as well. Let's get that going. Just want to see all those nice full belts of product. Look at that. I love the appearance of all these belts with nice clean products on them. We're getting more and more and more. This looks pretty good. I think we're caught up to the next save file. We would just have to wait for bronze smelting to complete. But no need to wait around for that. I think we're close enough. Let's load up the next save file and see how we did. Alright, we've got the next save file loaded. I can kind of see right off the bat I didn't quite complete the setup for the solder, but it looks pretty close. It just don't have the resin going up there yet, but it looks pretty similar. Combined in the same way there. We've got the belts going down for tin and lead. But the big change, and I remember this because, oh my goodness, did I do the math wrong last time. The original time. Yeah, look at that for how 4 was enough, but somehow I decided I needed 24, I think. It's completely bonkers. I don't remember how that math got wrong, but something was wrong. Maybe it's me that's wrong. But I did something wrong there. But it technically works. And it's set up. The only thing that's a little different here is I just haven't quite fed the solder, or fed the resin down to the solder production. But the moment I do, everything will be great. So that'll be easy to fix. So let's get to working on this next save file. Next we need to work on bronze, but that's going to have to wait until the next episode, so I will see you later.